Just remembered to record before getting the business from Ellen. Second, Anna is trying to connect. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to read a verse from Lech Lecha, because I really don't want to miss that lesson. I mean, all the lessons that we would learn from the Zohar is like unique in its own way, and so much to learn from and to practice. And this is going to be one of those. לך לך מארצך וגומר, רבי אבא פתח ואמר, שימו אליי אבירי לב הרחוקים מצדקה. שימו אליי אבירי לב כמה תקיפין לביהו דחייביה דחמן שבילי ואורחי דאורייתא. ולה מסתכלן בהו ולביהו תקיפין דלה מהדרין בתיובתה. לגבי מריהון ויקרון, אביר הלב הרחוקים מצדקה, דמתרחקה מאורייתא. Makes sense, right? I still don't see you guys. Steven, what's going on? Let me see your pretty face. So, Rabbi Abba Patach. So, the friends of Rabbi Shimon are discussing, and Rabbi Abba is opening the discussion. למה זכה אברהם שאומר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, לך לך וגומר? Why is it that Abraham deserved, merited to be the one out of his entire generation, to be the one that the Creator is going to come to him and he's going to talk to him directly and say, Lech Lecha, pick up your stuff and go. Which, by the way, Lech Lecha, you know, very often we see, like in the Jewish translation or in the New Testament, we see like the translations, both in the Old Testament and the New Testaments, the translations are very often misconstrued. They are not exact translation. And by the way, it's very hard sometimes to translate those words because, well, simply put, they don't make sense. So the translator has to bring it to a common language, to a layman language, so that the reader is not going to be, wait a second, what does it mean? Right? And so if a Hebrew speaker reads it, would say Lech Lecha, because the Creator comes and tells Abraham, pack up your stuff and go. This is how I, speaking Hebrew, would translate it. But this is not the word-to-word translation. And very often we say, you know, like the entire meaning of the entire portion is in the very first one or two words. The entire meaning of the whole portion. And this is one of those cases. Like if you're able to decode the first to two words of the portion, then you really get what is the essence of, you know, the consciousness that we should, you know, pull from that portion. And so if we translate the words word to word Lech Lecha, it means go for yourself. So if I would translate that into the Old Testament, go for yourself, Abraham, A, B, and C. The reader would look at this and like would be stuck. What does it mean, go for yourself? Let me just take the Bible and see how it is actually translated. Just give me 1 second. Just curious for a moment. Okay, so like I read like the different versions. And so one says go, another one says leave. Let's look at this one. Go from your country. Lech lecha me'artzecha. Go from your country. So it's go or leave. But that would be true if you would just use the first word, lech me'artzecha. But it says lech lecha. Go for yourself from your country. Like the whole thing, like if you're reading like the translation of it, like it doesn't make sense. It's not it's like intellectually you cannot take the word to word and just translate it into English or into any other language. So there has to be, especially when things are not intelligible, there has to be a deeper meaning. There has to be a secret. And so that's what the Zohar is going into. So why is it that to begin with, is Abraham chosen or even deserved? Like Rabbi Abba is using the word lama zacha. Why? What did he do that he earned that the Creator would come to him and not to anybody else in his generation? And we're talking about probably like hundreds of thousands or millions of people. Like, why Abraham? What's so special about Abraham? Ve'amar, and so this is the answer. Shamu elai avire lev archokim mitzdaka. Avire, I think the translation is limbs. Do I pronounce this right? The limbs of the body? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So it says, Shamu elai avire lev archokim mitzdaka. Listen to me, they listen to me, the limbs of the body or the limbs of the heart, meaning that the heart is the center and it nurtures the rest of the limbs of the body.
Hold on.
And so
No.
the listen to it, archokim mitzdaka, the ones that are far from charity. Shamu elai avire lev, the listen to me, the limbs of the heart, and the interpretation, kama kashim hem alvavot shel harashaim, how hard are the hearts of the wicked. שרואים השבילים הרחוקות של התורה. שרואים השבילים והרוחות של התורה, היינו פנימיות וחיצוניות של התורה, שבילים פנימיות ואורחות חיצוניות. ואינם מסתכלים בהם. So, the pathways, the different ways that lead to the path of the Torah might be right in front of them, but they don't even look at them. So it's like, imagine that a person that has a hardened heart would have a choice to make. One choice is to be kind to someone, and another is to hurt for no reason. So you might have the two options like in front of you, but you would look at, not you, but a wicked person, an evil person would be in tune in frequency, mainly with the hurting for no reason. And although the other path, the other choice of doing good, of making the right choice, of being merciful, forgiving, letting it go, might be right in front of us, we are choosing the one that is going to be hurtful. So very often when the Zohar, it talks about, the wicked and then the righteous or the good people, it's not talking about external people. It's not talking about people out there. It is talking about us. Us in the good times and us in the less good times. What does it mean, the less good times? Well, we also go through some downtime where we doubt, where, well, we're not so strong with all the lessons that we've learned all those past years. Yes, I've heard about restriction, and sometimes we have our partners that are coming and saying, hey, didn't you just retake Kabbalah 1, 2, and 3 for the fifth time? What's going on? How can you be so reactive? And very often it would be like the people that are not doing spirituality at all that are going to use those against us. I had this discussion not so long ago. They don't practice spirituality, they don't practice Kabbalah, but they know because they've heard you speak about the opponent and about restriction and about the evil inclination and about the power of the central column and letting go and not be self-absorbed, etc., and not to be a victim or to blame. We know, like, the theory of it all. We know it all. But then in those times that we are not so strong emotionally and spiritually, we fail to restrict and we let our evil inclination take over, right? And so in this moment, we are basically tuning in into the wicked that exists within each one of us. So there are times, and I'd like to believe that most of the time I'm a righteous in training, but then there are times that I'm not so proactive and not so positive. And in this time, I'm just like tuning in. It might be a second, it might be 5, but I'm tuning in into the wicked or wickedness that exists inside of me. And so in that moment that I have a choice, we might even say, like, I have a hard choice. It's not even the case. It's not a hard choice. Why? Because when I'm at the best version of myself, I could have exactly the same hard choice. But when I'm on the top of my game, the same hard choice would be like like such an easy overcome. It would be so easy to overcome. We would be laughing at the face of the opponent. Really? That's all you got? But there are times that maybe even the 10th of the test that I'm going through right now, that I would like, shove it over my shoulder and say, that's all you got. There are times that I wake up and I'm just not in a good mood. And the smallest thing might be turned into a giant monster. And so, ואינם מסתכלים בהם. And so, the times that we are blinded by what is or what are the path of the Torah. And again, the Torah is a code. There is the 1% of the Torah, the different books of Moses, etc., and that we read on Shabbat, and even those that we don't read on Shabbat. There are many books that that 23 or some volumes that we don't even pay attention to. But there is also the 99% Torah that is basically the path of righteousness. What is the path of righteousness? It is to elevate the hay from Malchut. What is to elevate the hay from Malchut? So we learn in the secret of the Tetragrammaton that there is what we call the Yud Ke Vav Ke. That's the Jehovah, name of the Creator. And so it forms by 4 letters. The first letter is connected to, is connected to the Sphira of Chokhmah. The Hey, the first Hey, is connected to Binah. The Vav of the Tetragrammaton is connected to Zir Anpin. And the second Hey is connected to Malchut, the 1% reality. So the 1% physical reality, when we restrict, we're elevating the Hey. And when we're elevating the Hey, we're connecting to the energy of righteousness. We're connecting to the energy of righteousness, and this is how we become a little bit more righteous. And this is also the secret of tzedakah. Why? Because tzedakah is righteousness added with the letter Hey. So tzedakah without the letter Hey, so we're basically pure 99%. It's tzaddik, righteous, or tzedek, righteousness. And so when we do tzedakah, we add the Hey of Malchut. We do an act of sharing beyond measure. That is how we are bringing into our lives, into the 1% physical reality, the energy of righteousness. And I am becoming righteous. So the whole concept of tzedakah, when you translate it again into physical human terms, you would translate it into charity. Charity is in the 1% money, but in the 99%, it is any act that you would do into the 99% that would elevate the Hey. So if we do an act of sharing that is fairly easy, convenient, comfortable, manipulated, agenda-filled, a lot of people are sharing with an agenda. A lot of people are sharing with guilt. A lot of people are sharing because of peer pressure. All of the above are not elevating the Hey. What is elevating the Hey? It's when it's going beyond my nature. Beyond my nature. And usually the way that we recognize those acts, those true acts of sharing, is when it's making me feel really uncomfortable. It's making me sweat. It makes me doubt everything. And then when I actually do it, it's like all the doubts and all the worry and all the concern, such a sense of relief and accomplishment. And so a lot of people have been, in history of humanity, led to believe that charity is about giving all your belongings. And so all that you're left with is basically nothing. And you're just worried and concerned and frightened about tomorrow. This is not charity. Charity is about overcoming yourself. Charity is about overcoming yourself. So if you do an act of sharing, going and volunteering, and it makes you feel good about yourself, is that a true act of sharing, an act of tzedakah? The unfortunate answer is no. The unfortunate answer is no. So you go to a shelter and you give food to the homeless, which is great. I highly recommend you to do it. But you know what? If it makes you feel good about yourself, it filled up your ego, that's not a good thing. That's not tzedakah. That is an act of sharing, and it's good. It revealed some light. It helped in the 1% some people that are starving and need food. Great. But this is not what the Zohar is talking about. ואינם מסתכלים בהם, ולבבם קשה, and their heart is hard. Think about it. When is it that our heart is hard or hardened? Isn't it when we are arguing with somebody? It's not necessarily about being right or wrong. We just want to be right. We just want to prove the other person wrong. And we are stubborn. Stubborn. Our heart is not open to see another angle, another perspective, because in this moment, either I'm hurt, or because I'm seeking revenge, or because this person did something to me and I need to tell him off, or I need to show them how they're wrong. Usually it has to do with tzedek. It's interesting because tzedek and tzedakah very much connected one to another. It's just that the tzedek or justice in the 99% is what is necessary to create a perfect balance, equilibrium in energy in this universe. Without chesed, gvura, and tiferet, right, left, and central column, the universe wouldn't be able to sustain itself. So we need the three-column system. And the left column of gvura is the one that brings tzedek or justice, seeking justice. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, represents the energy of tzedek, represents the energy of gvura, of justice, of judgment. But it is in such an elevated state that this typical essential energy is filled with zero ego. Wait a second, can you imagine justice or judgment without negativity? Without wanting to hurt somebody, revenge, or feeling like a victim? Or blaming some? Can you imagine justice without blaming somebody? Can you imagine justice without having a victim in the interaction? It's impossible. The way that we know justice is that there is somebody that has wronged another. One is the victim and one is the bully. One is the victim and the other one is the one that hurts. And we need to seek justice. In the spiritual, ultimate spiritual realm, where all correction has been accomplished and all negativity has been removed, there is still remaining tzedek, justice, but it is a higher justice. But it is a higher justice that is filled with only love and compassion. And it is the justice that is inspiring and blowing into this entire physical reality directly by the Creator. And that is a justice of love. That is a justice of education. That is a justice of growth. So right now we might be going through a tough time and it feels like justice, but then 6 months later you look back and you're grateful. Thanks God that you allow me to go through this rough time because now I'm so much better. But while you were going through it, you were not embracing it because we're living in the 1% that is made of bad and good. You didn't see that this rough time or justice was filled with anything looking like mercy or tolerance or good energy. But the more we are akin to connect, to tune in into the energy of tzedek, the higher level of mercy. And how do we do that? The Zohar is telling us. The Zohar is telling us with very practical meaning. It is when we are with a hardened heart that we are taking distance from the higher justice. That we're taking distance from the true meaning of tzedakah, charity. That not only we're taking distance when we are stubborn and we're not willing to forgive or be merciful, that we are in this moment not even seeing it, even if it was in front of us. Even if the right answer was there and you could hear it like in a far area of whatever texture in this one, you wouldn't be able to listen to it. So you can hear it, but you cannot listen to it. You could have your friend telling you, stop, don't give into it. Don't be reactive. You're giving away all your power. You're giving away all your energy. It's not good. Like, what about the laws of attraction? And in this moment, you just don't want to hear it. In this moment, you don't want to hear it. In this moment, you just want to tell this person how they hurt you, and the way that you're going to communicate it is going to hurt the other person. There is going to be a sense or a moment of relief, but it's not good. It's not good. It's not true, lasting relief. Because you're going to feel the space after that. Yes, you were right, but it's not about being right or wrong in this physical reality. שאינם חוזרים בתשובה אל רבונם. They do not repent. Meaning that this is for the time, maybe it wasn't that often. Maybe it was for the time that you knew that you were wrong, but you couldn't admit it. You couldn't admit it to yourself, and you couldn't admit it to the other person. And that is a strong indication of what the Zohar is basically talking about us. He's not talking to us about like a wicked, devilish person. He's talking about us. In this time, remember this time that you knew that you were wrong, but you couldn't stop yourself because you felt hurt, you felt betrayed, you felt lied to, you felt that the other person didn't respect you. It didn't matter. In this moment, you knew that it's not going to be a win-win, but you needed to just like vent. Did you ever vent? Think about it. Did you ever vent? And in that moment of venting, that's the choice. Because in the moment of venting, I can bet you anything that you could hear it. That's no win-win venting. It's not going to make things better. I mean, a 4 or 5 years old can vent. Because they don't really exactly have the capacity to practice a central column. ועל כן נקראים אווירי לב. And so they are called the limbs of the heart, הרחוקים מצדקה, that are far from charity. פירושו, and then the interpretation is, שמתרחקים מהתורה. In those moments that we just described, they are taking distance from the Torah, from the spiritual work. ועל כן הם רחוקים מצדקה. And therefore, as a result, or I'm not sure exactly which one comes first, it's like the chicken and the egg, they are far from charity. Again, the whole aspect, the whole concept of charity is described here in such a beautiful angle because it's not describing here doing financial charity. This is about the lesson about Abraham. Lech lecha, go out for yourself. Go out from who you are when you're trapped, when you're comfortable, and become this renewed, elevated person. And he could have never achieved the level of Abraham if he would have stayed, again in the physical terms, if he would have stayed in the residence, in the country of his father. There is the 1%, and then there is the 99%. He had to go out of his ways. He had to go out of himself, because if he was staying in his comfort, in his habits, he would have never reached this renewed, elevated phase of himself, where he was in the country of his father, in the house of his parents. He was Avram. And in that portion, he becomes Avraham. And so the same, what separates Tzedek and Tzedakah is the letter Hey. Avraham received the letter Hey from the Creator. And that is the letter Hey that is elevating this man to that level of righteousness. And this is what made him so special amongst an entire generation, is because he was willing and ready to just let everything go from what and where he was to achieve the next level. Tzedakah, charity, is more than the acts of kindness that you're doing within the frame of what makes sense to you. If it is making sense, if it is within the control of what's agreeable, comfortable with you, it's not righteousness. It's not charity. According to the lesson, the message of this week, keep doing charity the way that you are, and I am certain that it is revealing some level of light. But the true level of charity, of tzedakah, is when a person is accomplishing the lech lecha. When you are in that phase of about to throw a tantrum and you're going against yourself, you're doing the lech lecha about yourself, about your reactive nature, the heck with that. I'm not giving into this because it's not going to make me feel good and it's not going to make this person feel good. And yes, sometimes it means lech lecha from your job and that toxic relationship or this environment. Sometimes lech lecha means that also. The majority of times it's not. It's all in the head. It's all in the head, because if you don't really do it in the head first, then wherever you would go, you're going to face the exact same entrapment. Does it make sense? Any questions? Questions, comments? Esteban, good to see you, my friend.
I have a comment.
Yes, please go ahead.
My first comment is I'm so happy that you're back and hoping that you're feeling better because you are back. And secondly, I'm really grateful for this lesson because I don't think any of us can hear this enough. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to hear it, but I don't think it ever gets old. I don't think we can ever be reminded too much that what we think is enough is just a level of sharing, and there's so much beyond that. And I don't think we're often asked to raise the bar about that. And so this is really important consciousness, and I'm grateful to be hearing it again from my favorite teacher. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm also very happy to be back. The only thing that I would add to what you said is that there is the raising the bar. Raising the bar means that you were doing something in a certain way and you want to take it to the next level. The consciousness of Lech Lecha is not exactly that. The Lech Lecha is that you are completely going beyond your nature. Raising the bar, it's like you would do what you were doing, but taking it to the next level. But Lech Lecha is that you're going to take an action and you're going to look at yourself, you're going to look at the result of what you've done, and you're going to be like, wow, that was me? That was me? And a year or two is going to pass after you're taking 1, 2 consecutive Lech Lecha actions. You're going to remember, or somebody is going to remind you who you were or a year or two ago, and you're literally going to feel as if this person was talking about somebody else, as if it was a past life. Raising the bar, you're going to think about yourself like 5, 10 years ago, and it's still the same person. You're still the same person. Yeah, things changed a little bit here and there. You know, I'm talking to a multitude of people, and a lot of people feel like they don't change. The things are similar, but the same. Oh, same old same. We don't want the same old same. We really want to think of ourselves a year or two ago from now and be like, wow, that was me. That was me. That really feels like a past life. Like I know what you're talking about, but I can't even remember that those are the things that I was capable of doing. Why? Because you have changed so much. And so the Lech Lecha, it's not even raising the bar. It's like a whole different game. And that takes practice. And as we practice, we are getting to like the result of where it's leading us to. I don't want my next year to be a little bit better. I want my next year to be like looking backward and saying, not backward, but looking back and saying, wow, I can't even recognize myself. I can't even conceive that I was doing things like that, or thinking in this way, or speaking in this way. Those are the things that I'd like to project about myself in 6 months, in a year from now. That I want to be like 100% completely different, better, changed person. And that can happen with Lech Lecha motion. Complete transformation when we're accomplishing that. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'll meet again next week, same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Yehuda.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.